Good morning. My name is James Jimmy Hills, and I'm the host of Java with Jimmy. And as you can see, we are here live from the Museum of Science for the Boston Rise Up Weekend. I am sitting here with Sarah, who's from the Museum of Science. She's going to welcome you and also just tell us a little bit about the weekend. So Sarah, welcome to sort of a pop-up Java cafe here at the Museum of Science. Thank you for having me with you today. How are you?
I'm great. How are you?
I am doing well. I am glad to be here today. I'm excited about being here today. And so why are we here for this whole weekend? I believe this started yesterday. It's going through today and then tomorrow as well.
Yeah. So this is our Rise Up weekend. It's our climate change themed weekend. This is the third year that we're doing it here at the museum. And it's a weekend filled with climate events, speakers, and tables. So having organizations, government, industry, community all come together and talk about what they're doing to solve the climate crisis.
I am so glad that we are doing that. I was here a few months ago, I believe, when they started off Earthshot. And so that's a focus as well. And so what is it that people can expect this weekend as they're coming for Rise Up Boston weekend?
Yeah, so this weekend's all about hope and solutions. So the climate crisis can be scary, right? Overwhelming.
Very.
There's a lot of things happening. And so what we did is we really made sure that we asked all these amazing community groups and organizations to come and talk to our visitors about what they can do to change climate change and what these amazing organizations are doing about that. And so all the people coming this weekend are figuring out solutions to climate change. They're educating about climate change, and they're really part of the solution. And so it's supposed to bring active hope, and people can come this weekend and they can interact with all of our tables. We have over 20 tables here for the weekend.
There are a couple out here right now with different resources and information.
Yes, absolutely. And then we also have around 5 speakers every day right on this stage, including you, talking about the climate crisis as well.
Okay. Sarah, thank you so much for being with us. We're getting ready to bring our couple of guests up to speak with us. And so right before we do that, we're going to take a quick commercial break, and we will be right back with you in 2 seconds. Thanks, and we'll be right back.
This is Fuel. This is Growth. And this is our Earthshot, a reboot of belief in our ability to live sustainably, a renewable source of the one resource we can't live without: hope.
And we are back with our guest. I have the honor this morning of speaking with 2 of our guests. The first person that we're going to speak with is David James. He's going to introduce himself and tell you about his work. And then also Eva Rickert is going to be, is actually here with us as well. And so welcome to the Java Cafe. I'm excited. You 2 are my first sort of official guest in this space. Sarah welcomed us here, but I'm glad to have both of you here with us this morning. So actually, Eva, I'm going to start with you if that's cool. Yeah, ladies first.
Go for it.
Eva, if you can start and introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about yourself and how you came to this work. And I'm just naming that I love the Red Notebook. I don't know if that was intentional, but I'm just loving the Red Notebook. But please greet the folks and say hello.
Sure. Hi, my name is Eva Richter. I'm a Master in Public Policy student at Harvard Kennedy School, and I'm here with David James and a research sprint from the Berkman Klein Center. And we're a group of students, and we've developed exhibits all themed around climate change, and we're excited to show them here today.
And if you could also introduce yourself, David, and tell us about the work that you're doing at the center as well.
Absolutely. Thanks for having us. I'm from Brown University in the Rhode Island School of Design. And yeah, this has just been a really fun thing, being able to come here and think about a way to engage with the community and talk about climate change, and with a unique perspective. Each team kind of took their own unique perspective, and it's been really rewarding to see people come up and ask questions and see parents and kids interact with these exhibits.
And that's definitely happening here today. And so a lot of your impact is in the sustainability place. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, so our project is around telling stories of Boston through the perspective of trees. And so this is just one example of trying to figure out new ways to talk about climate change and sustainability with people. It's something a lot of us have heard and we know is a problem, but, you know, figuring out ways to, you know, shape people's values or change their perspectives. So maybe when they're on their morning commute and they see an old tree, they wonder what that tree is seen, and they feel maybe it's a stronger part of the community, and it's important to maintain that.
We have our notes, but everyone knows that, you know, I respond sometimes off of your answers. And can we really have impact with incremental sort of individual change? As you mentioned the tree, and I'm more cognizant of littering now. If something's in my hand, you know, about 10 years or so, I don't just throw it, you know, somewhere, even if it's a little piece of paper. And so do you believe that the little incremental changes have an impact as well on the macro that you're doing?
Yeah, I think, you know, just any ways we can kind of start shaping people's perspectives and values,
Yep.
so that when they're buying something or they're consuming or they're throwing something away, you know, you're making your decisions based on your values and your information. So if we can provide you with new perspectives and information that can help develop values that encourage sustainable behaviors, that's I think that every little
bit,
and
or every little person
makes a big impact altogether.
Absolutely. And so, Eva, you move in the space of technology and society. And so that's very interesting. Social media, we're kind of talking about some societal behaviors. Can you tell us about your work and how you're correlating science and technology and society in this space?
Yeah, for sure. So our exhibit is called Boston Shorelines, and our idea was to showcase how Boston is a city built on landfill. Around 1/6 of Boston is used to not exist 400 years ago. It's a city that our shoreline evolved over the past 400 years. Most of the city is sand, mud, gravel, and even trash dumped on the city's original shoreline. And our idea was to explore historic changes in the shoreline of the city of Boston, and to connect them to future changes that might occur because of climate change. So a lot of that land that we built is now vulnerable to flooding, and to protect the city against rising sea levels, other infrastructure projects might have to occur, and we have to make the city's shoreline more resilient against those flooding events. So our exhibit, and I encourage you all to check it out, is about how those past changes relate to future changes that might happen.
It's interesting. I want to ask you, thank you for explaining what's going on right here in Boston. We know we have, I want to get it right, I believe it's over 40 some odd 41 miles. I forget the mileage, but we're part of the Boston Waterfront Coalition. So thank you for naming that. Society, if I were to ask you in one word to describe how society is responding to the need of us doing better, what one word, what would you use as far as describing society according to your research?
I know you're asking for one word, but
people do it all the time. You can do 2 or 3.
I would say change.
Change. Okay.
Yeah.
Do you believe the society's mentality is changing, their behavior? What indicates that change for you in your research?
I think our point is that our shoreline is socially determined. Humans made it, and we can shape it in the future as well.
I like that. I like that. David, as we get ready to wrap up, I want to ask you to just maybe talk a little bit about what you're observing in society, behavior changes around sustainability. Are we progressing in that space?
I think there are so many people out there that want to make good choices and want to do what's right for the earth and for the environment. And I think it's our job as researchers to provide them with more information so that they can make an informed decision. And it's all about navigating that complex tapestry.
It is an interesting tapestry. And we talk about sustainability. I know that one of the guests that was here when I was last here, there is an effort even in our clothing around sustainable clothing. And so I don't want to put you on the spot, but any sustainable clothing right now?
Ooh, that's a good question on the spot. I can't think of any brands off the top of my head, but there's so much amazing work being done in textiles with biodegradable and natural fibers and things like that. And I think there's a growing movement for that. And I think even seeing with all these people with kids here today, there's so many kids products that are really pushing for sustainability too. So it's cool to see that around today. Absolutely.
And Eva, maybe at some point through technology or social media, you can look at maybe how sustainable fashion is trending, on social media. We definitely need to be intentional about promoting that.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. something that I'd love to explore further.
Absolutely. David and both Eva, I want to thank you both for being with me today. Thank you so much for being here and encouragement in the work that both of you are doing. We hope you get wonderful grants and some philanthropist sees this and reaches out and supports it. So thank both of you for being here. Everyone, I'm so glad to have our guests with us this morning. We're getting ready to take another quick commercial break, and we will be right back with you in just 30 seconds.
This is a farm, and this is growth. This is a brick, and this is a foundation. This is energy, this is fuel, this is a spark, and this is our Earthshot, a reboot of belief in our ability to live sustainably, an engine for enthusiasm about what's possible, and a year of generating more of the one resource we can't live without: hope.
Hey, everybody, we're back live at the Museum of Science. And so I'm going to ask the people in the audience if they can do me a favor when we're coming back. Can we just do an applause real quick just to record it? Hi, everyone. We're back here at the Museum of Science for the Rise Boston 24 event. And I have the opportunity now to speak with David Van Zura, and he is from Freight Farms. David, please say good morning to the folks and introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about what you're doing there at Freight Farms.
Thanks. So I'm Rick, and
Oh, sorry.
yeah,
Rick.
no problem. I've been called worse, trust me. So I'm CEO of Freight Farms, and we've been around for about 11 years. And what we do is we create farms out of shipping containers. So by taking a bunch of proprietary technology, putting it inside a shipping container with lights and airflow and nutrients, you can produce about 2.5 acres worth of crops out of that 8 by 40 foot shipping container. That's what we've done traditionally. So it's very land efficient. You can grow about 200 times more crops per square foot than traditional open field agriculture. And it's about 99% more water efficient. And of course, because it's in a shipping container, you can take that anywhere in the world that's designed to handle a shipping container. So it really allows us to have a motto of move farms, not food. And here at the Museum of Science, we actually have our smaller version of the farm, the garden, which is about half the size of our full shipping container size farm.
So I wanted to ask you, I was just thinking yesterday with health and things like that, and I'm going to go somewhere with this question, the industrialization of food on agriculture. It's very interesting, you know, how they preservatives and things like that. And sometimes those aren't the best for us. What is the impact of your work generally on agriculture, and then maybe better, healthier food options, right?
Sure. So certainly getting healthy food around the world everywhere is important. One thing we believe in is all forms of farming are going to be important. So we root on traditional agriculture, but we root them on to do it the right way: regenerative agriculture, minimizing preservatives, pesticides, herbicides, etc. So in our case, we're pesticide and herbicide free. Since it's hydroponic, when precisely controlled, you know exactly what went in the plant. And we have very high levels of monitoring in the farm. So you also know who's working in the farm at any point in time. So if you ever have an issue, you can also trace back to whoever was operating the farm. So being really clean, being really local is important. And you know, hyper-local food is great, not only because the taste, texture, and flavor are great, but because the nutritional value is so high. In the average transportation from the West Coast to Boston for produce grown is about 9 days, and you lose about half of the nutritional value along with a lot of the shelf life, a lot of the texture and flavor. So again, we're all about being hyper-local, and not only for the benefit of the food, but also for the community benefit, whether it's STEM education in schools, boys and girls clubs, whatever it is.
Now you talk about STEM, and so I want to ask you, you didn't start out in this space. You have a tech sort of background. So how did you correlate the tech background? And you also have an affinity similar to David. Maybe that's why I called you David. Hold on, was David Ventura a wrestler back in the day?
There was a Ventura. I think that was Jesse.
Okay, Jesse Ventura, and not Van Zura, but got it all mixed up there. But you have a tech background. you also have an affinity for sustainability, similar to David. I think everybody in this space does for more sustainability. How did you transition from tech into this space now?
Well, the co-founders approached me a little over 4 years ago because they were at the point where they really felt like the business could scale. They didn't have experience doing that. I did. But what got me interested in it is I love the dual missions of democratizing access to food, having this fresh, sustainable food source. And frankly, one of our daughters, who, for lack of a better expression, was sort of woke, and she said, "Hey, Dad, way to live the capitalist dream, but when are you going to do something for the planet and your legacy?" And there's a Native American proverb that's always really stuck with me that goes, "We don't inherit the earth from our ancestors, we borrow it from our children." And I feel like, I'm 60, so I feel like a lot of my era created a lot of debt for our kids. So I take a lot of pride in now finally being able to repay some of that debt and hopefully be part of the mission of leaving the planet a little better. And as David said, I totally believe everybody can have their impact, not only for what they're doing themselves, but as each of us sees somebody who cares, it makes us think a little more deeply about what we can do as well.
And you're a perfect example of that, you and your daughter. And so in case she's watching or she watches later, go ahead and you can look into that camera right there and give her a little shout out real quick and tell her thank you.
Hey, Jackie, along with Danielle and Grant. Love you all. Liz, good to see you. And yeah, we were all out there for Earth Day cleaning up, which is another example of, I love to see on Earth Day where you see all these people on the side of the road saying, well, we think about all of these big problems of the earth, just cleaning up your side of the street can have an impact.
That's sort of that individual piece that we were talking about earlier. My last question for you, there's a lot going on in the world, and I had, who you may know this name, Reverend Mariama White Hammond, gave me some stats around food and what's actually wasted and what's not wasted. But if I were to ask you just to speak to food equity on sort of a global sort of margin, how do you see what you're doing having an impact on food equity? Even if I understand right, these could be dropped or transported to deserts and places where there's famine and when there's lack of rain. Lord, I'm drawing a blank.
Yeah, drought.
Yep. Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you. It's early for me on a Saturday.
No
I'm just
problem.
messing up.
No
But can you
problem.
speak to that a little bit as we get ready to close out?
Sure. So again, Move Farms Not Food and democratizing access to food is a big part of what we're about. 2 billion people in the world live with water scarcity. It's way more than that live with a lack of food. So again, I think all of us collectively can be part of that solution, not only by doing what we do, but by encouraging everybody to address these problems. But definitely our focus is being on community-based. And again, anywhere where you can have a 10 by 50 foot parcel of land and 5 gallons of water a day, power
That's
hookup,
all?
you're good to grow.
5 gallons of water a day.
And actually, we're water positive in Florida, meaning because of the fact that our HVACs, they wick transpiration, not to get too technical, but from inside the farm, and they pull humidity out of the farm, that actually deposits water in the tanks. So you periodically have to empty your tanks instead of filling them.
All right. So we have to get ready to wrap up and get our next guest on. I'm really excited about can we check in with David and James and maybe bring him on a longer show and have you talk about
I would
this
love to.
on
And
the
again,
platform.
for all of you coming to the Museum of Science over by the Kinetic Wall, you'll find the garden. And again, we would invite everybody to be part of this. And again, do whatever you can, because again, we borrow the earth from our children. So let's start repaying.
Thank you. Thank you. And what's your daughter's name again? Jackie.
Along with
I'm
Danielle
going to
and
get you in
Grant.
trouble. Okay. To the
All right.
team that encouraged Rick to do this, thank you so much. We got one more commercial break. We have one more guest, and we will be right back with you in just about, where's the camera? 30 seconds.
This is a farm, and this is growth. This is a brick, and this is a foundation. This is energy. This is fuel. This is a spark. And this is our Earthshot, a reboot of belief in our ability to live sustainably, an engine for enthusiasm about what's possible, and a year of generating more of the one resource we can't live without: hope.
Hey everyone, we are back, and I'm going to start this segment by just correlating something that Rick said, that I had the opportunity, it was toward the fall of last year, to actually go on a tour of the Mystic River. And what I learned was, as Rick was talking about the quality of the food that and you could maybe go into it more, because I learned that like Chelsea is kind of like the best place to go get your fresh fruits and vegetables because of the way the produce comes into Boston. And so let me introduce you to the young lady who works for the organization. Her name is Marissa Zampino, and she works for the Mystic Valley Watershed. And so Marissa, welcome. So glad to have you here. We were, trying to get you here the other day, but timing is everything. And so please introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about the work that you guys are doing. Again, thanks to the Waterfront Coalition, I got to take a tour. I learned a lot about the impact of development. So you go ahead and tell your story. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, absolutely. So my name is Marissa Zampino. I work for the Mystic River Watershed Association. And I guess talking a little bit about the New England Produce Center, all the development, the infrastructure. The Mystic River Watershed is a little bit north of where we are right now.
Yep.
But it has the highest concentration of life critical infrastructure. So think about the produce center, think about the beverages, think about the power plants between New York City and the North Pole. And then it also has the highest concentration of environmental justice residents between New York City and the North Pole. Yes. So it makes it a really interesting watershed to do work in.
Absolutely. One of the things that I learned is there is a lot of development that, in that area. Where are you all working to sort of honor economic development and spaces for people to have fun and things like that, to where as Rick said, we're honoring and we're passing on the benefit of our earth to the next generation? What are you guys doing in that space?
We do a lot. So we do our classic stewardship work. You can come out on a canoe with us on the Mystic River if you want to help us clean up the river. But in terms of development specifically, I think one of the issues with development in the Boston area and with sustainable development is that the money is really only with private developers. And that's where you get those luxury apartment buildings, but they have a wonderful park and green space. So we really are advocating for more public funding, to be able to have public funding towards.
That way they inform the process and how much of the land or whatever of the development. Gotcha.
Exactly. Yeah.
So that's one of the things that you're doing. Can you talk to me a little bit about like the climate safety solutions and community partnerships? I saw you smile when I just brought that up. So is that the passion? Is that your passion point?
Passion. Yeah.
All right. So tell us about your passion point.
Yeah. So I specifically work in extreme heats. I think in the Boston area, we're very focused on coastal flooding. I'm not saying coastal flooding is not an issue, because it definitely is. But New England is one of the fastest warming regions in North America. So we're getting hotter and hotter and hotter. And the issue is Boston is a blizzard culture. You know to put on your snow tire, you know to salt your sidewalk.
But go ahead.
Yes, but we are becoming a heat culture, and we are not prepared for the infrastructure, socially, culturally, how to deal with heat. So you think of Texas, we're all kind of laughing at Texas with their blizzards. We're not too far from. Exactly. And like how Texas has heat infrastructure, we have cold infrastructure, but now we're kind of becoming that heat culture. So working with communities to lead and design solutions. So going into Chelsea, going into Everett, talking with my friends in Malden, and having communities lead this development. Because with climate, and I think one of the big issues with the climate crisis and climate change is that we've and scientists are important. I'm not saying they're
absolutely,
not, but scientists, planners, experts kind of lead climate, and it really leaves people out. But when you go into these communities, you realize there's so much expertise already there.
Because they know the land.
Exactly. They know the land.
Yeah.
We are on the same page.
Yes, ma'am.
They know the land. They know the solutions, and they're ready to help and work out and design places for themselves and their communities.
So we're on a world stage today. If you had you do have the opportunity. What is it that you would say when it comes to community engagement, you guys model? If you were to give maybe some points of advice for others that are listening, some developer or the philanthropist that's going to support a lot of the work that we're learning about today, what would you say to them to have real, intentional, and impactful community engagement? I love how we do need the scientists because
Absolutely.
they will know how to implement what the community wants based on their familiarity with the land. But scientists just have a different purview in balancing that. And so what advice would you give to researchers and developers to engage the community for the purpose of sustainable, community-driven climate justice?
Yes, absolutely. So
Just a little bit.
no, that was great. That was really, really good. So a couple of things. Number one, make it fun. I think I've brought bouncy houses to events, ice cream trucks. I've even had my executive director be like, Marissa, why are you paying for a petting zoo for a climate event?
Listen.
And I said, I have to, because this is, people want family-friendly activities. They want to have fun.
Like here.
Like here,
Today.
like
Yep,
Museum of Science is a great example. So number one, have fun. Do that thing that you think, oh, why would I bring an amusement park essentially to a climate event? Please do that. Number two, language access. Language access, especially
Huge.
in the Boston area, is huge. At minimum, at Mystic River, we translate everything we do into 7 languages, and we know that's not enough. We know
Right.
we
There are
need
primary,
interpreters.
there are 9 of sort of the primary. So
Exactly.
still, 2 more to go,
Exactly.
but
Yeah, exactly.
there's the effort there.
Exactly. So funding for language justice and language access is really important. And then the last one is just paying the community. We need to be paying our community members as much as we're supporting these engineers, because we don't want to be extractive and go in and just take resources and
Yep.
take information and do those surveys. We want to make sure that the community members, who sometimes they have multiple jobs, they're paying for childcare, they're worried about other things, have a way to be able to participate in this work that's not taking away from basic needs and what they're doing every single day.
And it is also, we talk about their familiarity with the land. It
Mhm.
is also their intellectual knowledge that should be
Absolutely.
compensated
Absolutely.
as well. And so I want to say, Marissa, along with you, Mystic Valley, and also Freight Farms and the Berkman Klein Center, and here at the Museum of Science, these are 4 great examples of what's going on in our community and getting the work done. And so, Marissa, I want to personally thank you for the work that you're doing. I also want to thank our other guests, David and Eva, and also Rick. And I'm looking at David, and I got that right. And Rick, where did he go? Rick is somewhere probably doing or checking out his garden. But before we get ready to go, we're going to take one more commercial break, come back and say goodbye. And we'll be right back with you in just a couple of seconds.
This is Fuel. This is Growth. And this is Our Earthshot, a reboot of belief in our ability to live sustainably, a renewable source of the one resource we can't live without: hope.
Hey everyone, we are back and we're getting ready to wrap up. I just want to thank everyone here from the Museum of Science, James Monroe, both Kevins, Kevin in AV and Kevin in IT, and everybody, and Sarah. And I know I'm forgetting some names. And again, my guests, Eva, David, and also Marissa for being with us, and Rick as well. Don't forget that you can come to the museum. You can literally get in your car and be in here in the next half hour, and it's free. Thanks to our partnership with the Museum of Science, you can come, you can go on and register and use the code to get your free tickets. The code is JWJ Rise Up 24. JWJ Rise Up 24. Again, we'll be back in a couple of months here at the Museum of Science. Again, we want to thank them for their wonderful hospitality and our guests. And don't forget, you can come later today and also tomorrow and check out Rise Up Boston. And again, get your tickets for free at JWJ Rise Up 24. Thank all of you for being here, joining us today virtually and also in this space. Let's give the Museum of Science folks a hand and everybody here. And we'll talk to you on Monday at 9 a.m. Thank you.